what's more entertaining to you, the NCAA or NFL? And we got a couple of responses, and we're gonna talk about those for a little bit.
Right. First of all, I want to get your opinion. What's your thoughts on this?
I go back and forth. I'm obviously a huge NFL fan, huge Browns fans. I'd rather watch that than college any day. But the big games in college are more exciting than the big games in the NFL.
Right.
I feel like
and there's more of them too.
Yeah. I feel like the national championship is more exciting than the Super Bowl. I feel like the bowl games are more exciting than playoff games, in my opinion. Maybe it's just because the Browns are never in them, and I get to watch Ohio State in the big games. That could possibly it. But I love the pageantry. I love the student sections. I love the crowds.
The traditions.
I love how when you see a dominant player on the field, he's head and shoulders above a lot of the players because a lot of them are going on to be
accountants.
Yeah, lawyers, accountants, stuff like that. So I like seeing that dominance. I like seeing a huge quarterback in college just absolutely picking apart a defense where you do see that in NFL with the greats like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, but those are once-in-a-generation players. You see those good quarterbacks every year in college, it seems like. You see the Deshaun Watsons, the Marcus Mariotas, the RG3s. When
Johnny
RG3s
Manziel.
in college. Yeah, Johnny Manziel. It's so much more fun to watch in college, just the broken plays, like McAfee from Stanford. I love watching him play fast, quick running back.
Yeah, he's exciting.
Yeah, so
and then Leonard Fournette too down in LSU.
Yeah, exactly. And watching Zeke in college, like you see the athletes in college, you see how athletic they are. In the NFL, everyone's so athletic.
It blends in. Yeah,
it sort of dilutes it a little bit. Saying that though, I am a bigger fan of the NFL. I do watch more NFL games a year than NCAA.
Damn, you just sold me on the college thing, and now you're picking NFL.
Right? See, that's where I go back and forth. Like, I still gotta go NFL. That's where I like watching the Brownies play.
Yeah, I also will go NFL. My reasoning is it kind of ties into yours a little bit. I agree with you that when you have these standout players in college, they are very fun to watch. But you put an NFL team together, and the very worst team or player on the NFL team was one of the best players on his college team.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I love. It's just a much higher grade of competition. Yeah, a lot of people argue, they're only in it for the money. But I don't. Yeah, I would be too.
Yeah, right.
Like, you get a chance to make that much money doing something you love, you go for it.
That argument makes no sense.
Right. I hate that argument.
Anyone that says that, I just kind of discount it.
Right. It's usually those people that don't really watch sports because they're just like, I'd rather talk politics. Okay.
That's along with college for basketball. College players play better defense than NBA players. No, they don't. College players just suck at offense. That's all it is. The college players just can't shoot.
Right.
So they look like they have better defense. It's not anything the defense is doing. But
yeah, I love the NFL. I love the talent. I've always loved the business side of sports. I've always liked that a kid in the middle of nowhere in Texas and the kid somewhere from Ohio are together on the same team, going for the same goal, trying to get a Super Bowl together. And, like, just the way that teams are built, I love trying to build teams. Like, that's what I always do on Madden.
Yep.
I get on Madden. I simulate the seasons. I just play the off seasons. I do the drafts. I do the free agency.
Here. I love that part. I think that mean you're really bonded over that.
You're the only other person I've ever met that does that stuff. So.
Everyone else thinks. I know my dad always makes fun of me whenever he comes in the room. Oh, you simming the season in? Yeah, Dad. I want to get my draft pick. So okay. Yeah. So we and you both agree on that.
Right.
Yeah, the off season in the NFL is a lot funner. I love seeing the draft picks.
Yep.
I like it's more of a 24 or 365 day a year sport.
Right. And I mean, the true diehard college people could argue that it's the same with the recruiting season in college, but I can't get into it. I've tried. I sit there and I read college recruiting stuff, and then I don't even remember what I just read.
Right. I can't. Yeah, it's different watching highlights of a 22-year-old coming out of college than a 17-year-old in high school.
Right, because a 17-year-old in high school, how good is the competition he's going against?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I think we both agree that NFL is better.
Right, and on like you said, we threw it out on our social media.
Yep.
And we got a comment from Tim Metcalf, and he has a good point in here too. He says he prefers the NFL to college football, not only because I believe that it's more entertaining to watch, but the inclusion and growth of fantasy football makes me more invested in games. That the fact that I prefer NFL to college speaks a lot about the product, since my team is the Browns and hasn't exactly provided us with a lot of great football since they came back.
See, that's something I didn't even think of, the fantasy football aspect of it.
So he brought up a great point there.
Me and you are both big into fantasy football. You just joined my league recently, and I just joined your league. So we're both in each other's leagues this year.
Leagues together.
Yep, so we're both in 2 leagues together.
And he's got such a good point because on Sundays, every Sunday, we all get together. You know, it's me, Eric, Brandon, who was on the Fantasy Football podcast with us. You join us sometimes, and we watch the Browns. Every commercial, all of us pull out our phones, check our fantasy score. It's just part of watching football
clockwork,
now.
Yeah, and no one's asking what are you doing there? It's just everyone does it, and everyone throws out players that are doing good, and you're like, oh yes, or no, I'm playing him this week.
Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, it has a huge aspect. Like you're rooting for, I would never root for some of these players or some of these teams, and it really feels a connection to some of these players. Like Ryan Matthews, we talked about him a couple weeks ago, and I hate Ryan Matthews now. Nothing against the guy. I'm sure he's a great guy. But he does so bad in fantasy for me that I just can't stand him anymore. Every time I see him on the field, I'm just like, oh, get this guy out of here. He sucks. He's not that bad of a player. Just doesn't have the fantasy production I want. Same with Doug Martin.
Yep.
Doug Martin carried me to a great playoff run one year. And then next year I used him as my keeper. Pooped the bed. Hate Doug Martin now. Don't like him. Not drafting him anymore. I don't care what he's projected. Not falling for it.
Yep.
So that is a great point. The fantasy football. It really adds so much more to the game. So much more fun. Obviously, people argue that it's stupid, or
a lot of people don't like the gambling aspect because a lot of people put money in on fantasy. And I mean, I can see it from certain points, but I mean, it's fun.
Yeah,
fun.
It adds more to the game. Yeah.
Yep.
And then also speaking was my dad wrote in Mike Tarchanen. He said, a very short and concise. NFL is much more entertaining. So
sweet and to the point.
Yep, apparently so. He's a big fan of the NFL. I know he's not a big college guy.
Yeah.
He'll watch the big bowl games every once in a while, but he'll watch every single Browns game. So,
and I think we're all in agreement here that the NFL is more entertaining. I would love for someone to sit there and message us and let us know why college is better.
Right.
I'd love to hear back from somebody.